So do you struggle with the holidays, either financially, emotionally, spiritually, etc.? Are you wondering how you can make Christmas phenomenal for your children, but you're wondering how to do it financially? And are you hoping to navigate the holidays without stress? And so if you answer yes to any of these questions, I definitely encourage you to stay tuned and listen to this video, because I'm going to be answering a lot of these questions, because I'm going to be talking about how to spend less money, have more fun, and have less stress this holiday season. And so I know holidays can be a stressful, sad, and lonely time for many people. There's so much pressure to be able to find the perfect gift, create the perfect memory, and that desire for perfection around the holidays can lead to a lot of stress. Also, the holidays can be a time where people are reminded of what they don't have, who they lost, and what they thought that was going to happen in their life, but didn't. And so I remember early on when I became a single mom, and so I became a single mom through an unplanned pregnancy. And right after I quit my job to become a full-time entrepreneur, I ended up, getting pregnant unexpectedly, and then my twins dad left when I was 4 months pregnant. And so this was all before, and so I remember having to face the holidays, alone as a new mom. And so at one point, I really struggled with single mom guilt, especially around Christmas. It really impacted how I viewed the holidays and really other holidays as well. So it wasn't just Christmas. And so I was excited about the Christmas tree. I was excited with time with family. I was excited about pictures with Santa. And I was excited about creating unique experiences for my kids. But when I took time to slow down about how it was that I felt, something was amiss, because I felt like I had to be both parents. I felt like I had to buy twice as many gifts. I felt like I had to create this super awesome experiences to make up for the fact that I'm a single mom and actually an only parent, right? And so I was really overcompensating for the fact that their dad left and he walked out and he was no longer there. And so I just didn't want my kids to feel any lack. And so during the Christmas time especially, I went into overdrive because I felt like I had to create something that was just extraordinary. Otherwise, I was afraid that they would feel lack. And so I remember one day I confided in a friend about what it was that I was going through, and she encouraged me to adopt a mindset change. And she said that if I did not change my mindset towards the holidays, I was looking at a road of burnout, stress, and debt. And so that advice was so transformational for me, because I began to work on the source of that feeling and why it was that I was feeling that way. And I was able to feel peace. I really leaned into the Lord, and I was able to find peace in who God was calling me to be. And yes, there were definitely times where I felt like I needed to be super mom and buy all these extra stuff. But in those moments, I had to remind myself, like, I don't need to buy twice as many gifts to make up for the fact that my twins don't have a dad. Like, I don't have to do that. That's not my responsibility. But my responsibility was being the best mom that I could be. And that was the only thing that I had control over. And so I could not, lean into overcompensation and all these other things. I just needed to be who God has created me to be. And I needed to know who God was and lean on God to be able to bridge that gap, to be able to help me to find peace and help me to find joy in the holiday season and a pathway forward, and an understanding that through our family structure, through me with my kids and my parents, my family, we could create an amazing, memorable holiday experience for my kids. And so therefore, I want to encourage you that if you're in a position now where you're faced with the holiday season and it's causing you a lot of stress and anxiety, I really want to encourage you that you're not letting your kids down. And if you're not a failure, if you can't provide them with expensive or a large quantity of gifts, you aren't letting your kids down if you can't do everything on your Pinterest board or whatever, whoever you're comparing. You're not letting them down if you can't match the gifts or experiences that you see on Instagram. You can still give your children an amazing Christmas and holiday season, right? I really just want you to just lean into that. You absolutely can give your children an amazing and wonderful holiday season. And so today I'm actually going to share with you, I think it is 5 steps in order to do that. Okay. So step 1 is, okay. Step 1 is understand what makes you a phenomenal mom. And so one of the things that I think that I know I had trouble believing, right, or understanding is that stuff equal better parenting. But what the truth of the matter is that you're not a failure if your Christmas tree isn't overflowing with gifts. The other truth is that more stuff does not equal better parenting. And we've all seen or heard these stories where parents try and buy the love of their child only to have their child grow up with issues, right? So kids don't crave the stuff, and I've said this a number of times in my other videos, they crave time. Love is spelled Time. So think about how you can spend time with your kids and understand that your children want way more of you than they want new stuff. And so you have to be able to change how you feel about your stuff and change how you feel about motherhood. And like my friend told me, have a mindset change about what it means for the holiday. Have a mindset change about what it means to be a mom. And this really means focusing on the things that matter, the love that you have for your children and the person or the people who your children are becoming, and focusing like, are you raising happy, kind, God-fearing children? Like these are the things that matter, right? So definitely create your own reality. Focus on staying in your lane. Avoid comparing yourself to other moms and create the vision and reality that you have for your children, right? Besides, you don't know what these other families are doing. You don't know how they're living. Like when you look at social media, and I've actually recorded a whole video on this. When you look at social media is only giving you the highlights of people's lives. You're not understanding the inner workings or the struggles or the things that they're dealing with. And so we can't compare ourselves. And actually, the Mayo Clinic says that the holiday season brings stress and depression for many people, single, married, parents, no children, etc. And so I really want to encourage you to create a healthy mindset and adopt healthy habits and positive thoughts to create a season that brings joy, happiness, and positive new experiences. And give yourself grace, right? And so when you fall short of your own standards, give yourself grace, because sometimes we're not able to create the ideal vision for what we want to do. And just if something doesn't work out as planned, get back up, give yourself grace, and keep on going. And encourage and remind yourself that you're a phenomenal mom and that you're doing the best that you can do. You're doing the best that you know how, right? And that is okay. And also practice gratitude. This will help you to fill yourself with amazing things that you're doing as a mom. Continue to encourage you, because what you focus on expands. And so if you focus on what you're doing, that makes you a phenomenal mom. If you focus on what you're doing to bring joy to your children's lives now, if you focus on what you're doing right, like I said, what you focus on expands, right? And that becomes the things that you're focused on, and it begins to push out the negativity that might begin to creep in when you start to encounter single mom guilt. If you start to be able to, experience feelings of loneliness, abandonment, rejection, whatever that might be, whatever feelings that come up to you, for you, when you focus on gratitude and start to thank God for what he's already done and thank him in advance for what he's doing in the future, these are things that can help you to be able to shift, to be able to bring you joy. And step 2 is create a Christmas gift savings plan. And I know it is December now, but still there's certain things that you can do now to be able to create that Christmas gift savings plan. And so, of course, at the end of Christmas, you can begin to start planning for next year, right? So you can begin to take money out of your check every month to be able to save over time for Christmas. So don't think that you can't start now for next year. But for now, since it's December, there are still things that you can do, right? To be able to prepare for Christmas. And that starts with creating a budget, right? Looking at your income, looking at your expenses, and because it's not always practical to start early, right? And so it's important to be able to start where you are. And so whether or not you've started early or whether or not, you're just starting now, it's definitely important to create that budget. It's important to identify how much you can afford. So look at your overall income, right? Your overall income that you expect to earn between now and Christmas, right? And then look at your anticipated monthly expenses. So go through your bank account, go through your budget, look at how much your monthly expenses are. And then when you do that, subtract your expenses from your income, then you're able to see how much leftover money that you have that you can allocate towards Christmas spending. And then also when you explore your budget, look at how you might be able to reallocate some money from non-essential things like dining out or whatnot, to be able to see where you can move money from your other areas of your budget to cover your holiday expenses. And the other thing I want to say is think about all the costs associated with the holiday season. Because when you think about your budget, think about all the things that come with the holiday season, because it's not just the gifts, right? Santa pictures are super expensive, and I love still going to Santa. Like, I get super excited about Santa. I take my kids to see Santa, and we get Santa pictures every single year, right? Because we really love Santa pictures, right? So Santa pictures cost money, right? They're not like what they used to be. Like, they're super expensive. So you want to be able to budget in Santa pictures. If your job does Secret Santa or White Elephant gifts, factor that in the cost as well. If your job has potlucks or whatnot, and you're bringing potluck or different things to work, or you're going to holiday dinners, all of that stuff costs money. Decorations, right? All of that stuff costs money. So definitely determine how much you can spend over the entire holidays and not just on gifts. And then once you know how much you can spend to the entire holidays, then you can be able to begin to allocate it towards work holiday stuff, gifts for family and friends, gifts for your kids, holiday decorations, all of that. If you're going to travel, that needs to be included in that as well. The third thing is identify the people on your gift list. So make a list of people of all the people that you need to shop for. And then once you are finished, reassess that list about whether or not you need to actually buy. And so when you look at that, say, okay, does this person really have to be on the list? Can I reduce the number of people? Can we suggest that our family only shop for the kids and not the adults this year? Can we do a Secret Santa for the adults, so we're only buying for one person? So thinking about all the ways, like, do you have to buy a gift for all your friends? And the other thing that you need to consider as well is if your kids are in school, or if they're in daycare or preschool, anything like that, then there's also teachers' gifts that comes with this time of the season, right? Or if they're in lessons for the music teacher, like whatever those things are. So just make sure that you understand who it is that you're shopping for, and then develop a budget for each person. So once you know who you're shopping for, develop a budget for each person. And so you can develop that budget based upon your relationship with that person, and like the things that they want. And so, but you have to understand that the value of the present, the amount that you spend on the present, isn't necessary, or like the value of the gift to the person isn't necessarily dependent on how much you spend. And so, and also how much you spend on a person does not dictate how much you love them or how much you appreciate them, right? And so, all budgets don't have to be equal. You can spend more on someone, less on someone. Just make sure that you're giving a gift that's from your heart. And if you find what I would do, I'd be like, one for this person, two for me, right? As I'm in the store, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm here shopping, but I'm like buying all this stuff for myself too. Just have to realize that, like, be aware of how much extra stuff that you're buying. So be very intentional when you shop with your plan. And also, like I said, develop a budget for the other holiday expenses. So if you're going to if you're going to like a holiday event, you need to get your hair or nails done or makeup done, make sure you include that in there. And the other thing is, just because you can afford it, it doesn't mean you have to spend it. Like, if you find a great sale on a gift and so you don't end up spending everything in your holiday budget, it's okay to take that money and use it for something different. Maybe paying off debt, building a savings account, putting it towards something, extra that you can do, whatever it might be. You know, um, just have a plan, right? That's the biggest thing I'm trying to say. Have a plan. And so what happens if you develop this plan, but then you end up not having enough money, right? And so I encourage you to reassess your spending. And so I just please avoid going into debt, right? I forget the exact data, but a lot of people go into debt over that holiday season. It's really significant. And the amount of debt that people end up carrying over into the new year. So it's like starting the new year with more debt. And so when we focus on building a plan in advance, when we focus on creating a budget that we can follow, then what we need to do is make sure that, we stick to that budget. And if, you have more people that you find that are on your list, but, it's more than what you have budgeted, then you can look at ways to either reduce the amount that you're spending per person, reduce the number of people if you're able to, or increase your income. But I definitely want to encourage you to not go into debt. Don't go into debt this holiday season just buying gifts, because at the end, Christmas is, about giving, but it's also about Jesus. And so if we focus on who it is that we are here for, that will help you as well. And so also, all spending does not have to be cash. So if you have credit card rewards points, if you have, cashback savings from your debit card, if you shop through sites like Rakuten or other sites, those are sites. What's the other one? Ibotta, like things like that. Those things allow you to earn cash back through your regular savings, so you can look at things that you already have, like cash back or other type of points or mileage or things, whatever it is, that you can use to also be able to buy gifts as well. I know one year, I ended up getting a, what's those things called? A rebate. Yeah. So I got a rebate check. I had bought something and got a rebate check on it. The rebate check was like $50 or something. And so I used that rebate check to be able to help offset the cost of holiday shopping. Like, why not? Right? And so step 3, make the best buying decisions. And so maximize your buying decisions. Expand your thoughts about what it is that you can even buy as a gift. And so for me, with my kids, I incorporated both used and new. And so I remember a few years ago, I picked up a lot of stuff off of Facebook Marketplace, and that stuff was like new. And so my kids didn't care. Like, it was a new toy, right? And so for your kids, look into sites like Facebook Marketplace. Look into sites like OfferUp. I know I've gotten gifts from Once Upon a Child before, and all of this stuff was in great condition, and my kids loved it, right? And so it didn't matter if it was new. So look into a mix of both new and used for your kids, because if you buy used, that stuff goes a lot farther. You can find lower prices. It's better for the environment because the stuff isn't going in the landfill. And so look into Facebook buy sell groups in your area, resale stores, yard sales, estate sales, hosting a mom swap. I've done that before, where, we get together. I've done that with clothes before, with kids' clothes, hosting a mom swap. And we each brought in clothes that were in great condition, and we swapped them amongst ourselves. So we all were able to refresh like our kids' wardrobe or even our own wardrobe, depending on what we were swapping. And it was great. And so the other thing is making sure that your spending is aligned with your family goals. And really, I know that this is in step 3, but this is really step 1. Making sure that your spending is in line with your family goals. And this is why in the beginning of the video, I talked about creating that vision for the holidays, but really you should have that vision for your family in general, knowing what your goals are for your family, knowing what your financial goals are for your family, knowing what your family values and knowing what matters to your family. Because when you take the time to create that goal for your family, that vision for your family, then everything else is able to fall in place. And so if you decide as a family, like your goal is to get debt free, or your goal is to save for a trip, or your goal is to save for a house, and then that might mean that you spend less on Christmas. That might mean that there's fewer people who are getting a gift, and it's okay to communicate that with the people, right? It's totally okay to communicate it. I remember one year we used to, when I was a kid, we had family friends and we would swap gifts. We got together and we exchanged gifts, and everybody in the families, we all exchanged gifts. And I remember one year they shared that they were going on a budget and they were only going to do gifts for the kids this year. And I think that it's okay to be transparent, because when you do that, somebody else might have had that same thing, but they might have been afraid, right, to be able to share that. So share those things. If you're not going to be doing gifts this year because your family vision or your family goals support making different decisions, it's okay to be able to share that. And it's okay to be able to make those decisions. And so, because you can still have an amazing celebration and still be focused on your family's long-term goals, right? And this is why I cannot say this enough, that having that vision for your family, having that vision for your finances, having those financial goals is so important, because it will dictate and determine how you approach the holidays and how much money you spend on the holidays. Because at the end of the day, you're going to start asking yourself, is this going to get me further or closer to my goal, right? Further from or closer to my goal. And then those decisions about what to buy or what not to buy, or who to buy for, who not to buy for, those things become easier, right? And so also beware of store credit card deals. So don't fall into the trap of saving 10% or so just for opening a store credit card. Really, that can end up being an expensive trap, right? So, because I know I've gotten those store credit cards before, and I was like, ooh, 15% off, but then I carried a balance, and then I just erased everything that I would have saved. So just don't do it. It's just not worth it. And then if you start missing payments, the interest rate goes sky high, and all those late fees, it just ends up not being worth it. And so step 4 is use the holidays to educate your children about money. And so communicate to your children about responsible spending, developing a spending plan, spending within their means, establishing priorities and what matters to them, establishing that financial vision, and help them to understand, what good financial stewardship looks like. And one of the things that I do recommend is trying to avoid that blanket no, or because I said so responses, because that's just not helpful. Kids don't learn from that, and it can breed resentment. And so your children will be more, especially if you have to change how you're doing Christmas this year, if you've been doing it. So if you've been doing Christmas a certain way, and then you're changing because you have different financial goals, and so you're going to be buying less. So it's really important to be able to communicate that up front with your kids within a greater lesson of financial literacy, because the more you talk to them about finances, the more you talk to them about good financial management, the more transparent you are, the better. They'll understand more, and they'll be able to have those seeds planted for financial literacy in their own lives. And if your children are older, consider giving them a budget for what they want to do, right? for, okay, like you can give them a cash gift and then they can decide how they want to manage their money, or help them to, if they're working or if they have, allowance or whatever it is that they might want to give people gifts, help them to be able to understand, what this means and how to spend, how to choose who they buy gifts for, how much money do they spend on the person, for their gifts, because that will ultimately be very helpful and go a long way in helping them to learn how to manage money going forward. And so another tip that I have is consider allocating cash gifts that you receive from family and friends, and put that in a college savings account for your kids. Put it in a custodial account like a UGMA or UPMA account. Consider putting it in an investment account for your kids. So that way it's not just buying more stuff. You're not just buying more stuff, accumulating more kids, or not accumulating more kids, but accumulating more toys in your house, but doing something that would allow you to build on the financial future of your kids, because it's just a great opportunity to talk to them about investing as well. And so I was just thinking about this, like literally, like my kids took a sponge. They each took a sponge, like out of a packet, and drew a face on it. And they literally carried it around like a stuffed animal. Like it was a sponge. So, and I saw an Instagram video one time about like giving gifts that your kid will actually want, and it was like an empty water bottle, Tupperware, a remote control. Like it's so funny, like what they play with, and we spend all this time picking out these gifts, right? But then they play with the box. Like the Amazon box, not even the box that the toy came in. And so really take the pressure off yourself. Like you're not going to ruin Christmas, and stay focused on your goals, and really honor those goals. And, focus on your goals. And so step 5, remember the reason for the season. And I know Christmas gets very commercialized. It's about, you see all these commercials about buying gifts and all this other stuff. But focus on Jesus. Think about ways to create and include service in your holiday season, and point everything back to God. Point everything back to Jesus. Like the fact that, we celebrate Christmas because we're celebrating the birth of Jesus, the one who came into this world to give us all the greatest gift ever imaginable or ever possible. They cannot be outdone, which is our salvation, our freedom from sin, and our reconciliation with God. And so think about ways to incorporate Jesus. Think about ways to incorporate service and giving to the other people. During this holiday season. Think experiences instead of gifts. If it's possible, think about your experiences. I remember I was in a seminar one time, and the person leading it said, raise your hand if you remember your Christmas gifts that you received a year or two before or as a childhood. And most people didn't raise their hand because they didn't remember it. But when he said, raise your hand if you remember an experience that you had at Christmas, or something that you did with your parents at Christmas, almost everybody stood up, because they remembered the things that they did and less so the stuff. And so I want to encourage you to think experiences, right? Figuring out how you can spend time with your children. Because if you think about it, right, I like to encourage people for their spending to be able to break it down into like an hourly rate. Like how many hours, and even if your salary, you can still do this, right? How many hours would you have to work in order to pay for this item, right? So if you want to buy I'm just doing this math because it's super easy. Like if you wanted to buy $100 purse and you make $25 an hour, then that means you have to work 4 hours to pay the purse, right? And so when you break it down into how much time it's going to cost you to be able to buy those items, then I think it helps you to think through, is the time trade-off worth it, right? Is it worth spending this extra time away from your kids to put in these extra hours for this stuff? Because I think when you start to look at things in terms of trade-offs, so many things just seem like they just don't matter, right, anymore. And so create new traditions. Think of things that you can do with your family to make Christmas special. Buy a tree within a few days of Christmas and decorate the Christmas tree on Thanksgiving Eve. Go to a Christmas tree farm. I was just telling somebody the other day about one of my favorite Christmas memories was when my family and we would go to a Christmas tree farm. The buggy would drop us off like where, in the area of the farm where the type of tree that we wanted was grown, and we would chop the tree down, and the buggy would roll around every so often, and we would load that thing back on the buggy. When we got there, they tied it to the car, and then after we tied it, after it was tied to the car and paid for and everything, that's when we went inside the restaurant, because that Christmas tree farm had a restaurant on the premises. And so we would drink hot cocoa and by the fireplace. And sometimes we would stay, like we would eat lunch there and everything. But like my favorite part was literally sitting by that fireplace, drinking hot chocolate. And that was a wonderful memory that I have as a kid. Like, honestly, I can't tell you the gifts that I got, but I can tell you I can describe to you the number of times, like not all the times, but just the key memories from this Christmas tree farm. I can tell you about the time when my mom took my sisters and I to the soup kitchen. I can tell you about the time where we went and saw an Alvin Ailey performance, right? During the Christmas. It's the experiences and the traditions. And I remember my family, we used to literally get Christmas trees on Christmas Eve. But when we stopped going to the Christmas tree farm, then our new thing became getting Christmas trees on Christmas Eve. And then we would get the Christmas tree, and then we were decorated on Christmas Eve. And that just was our thing, right? And so there's so many ways that you can create new traditions and new experiences that your children will look back on decades from now and smile. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the gifts. It's about the time. It's about the experience. It's about the traditions. And most of all, it is about Jesus. Oh, another thing that you can do is outdoor ice skating, Christmas movie marathons, like going to church on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, listening to holiday carols. I like to put on a playlist of Christmas music and sing and dance and just have fun. Like, there's so much stuff that you can do during the holiday season. So I just want to encourage you, like, to take the pressure off yourself, take the stress off yourself. You don't have to deprive your family of a fun, amazing holiday experience. The key is making sure that you come up with a plan to prevent overspending, identifying what you plan to do, creating a plan, right? But then figuring out how to make things memorable, that's authentic to you, that respects your long-term financial goals, that allows you to not go into the new year with debt, and that that allows you to create something that's unique and memorable for your family. And even if you're a single mom, like, you can still do something amazing. You really can. Take the limits off of God. Take the limits off of yourself. And just lean into the season and just make a decision now that you're going to approach the season with joy, with peace, with, overflow of joy, right? Because those are the things that really matter. And so I definitely want to encourage you, like, let me know how this helps you. Like, I really hope that this encouraged you. I really hope that this helps you. I really hope that this gives you some actionable and practical things that you can do to make this holiday memorable. So leave me a comment. Leave me a comment to let me know how this encouraged you. Like this video, love it, subscribe, share it with a friend, and thanks so much for tuning in. And last but not least, I want to encourage you to pick up a copy of my book, Navigating the Impossible, a survival guide for single moms from pregnancy through the first year of motherhood. It's available on Amazon, and that book is so full of financial wisdom, so full of financial wisdom, down to managing a budget, paying off debt, building your credit score, grocery shopping, saving time and money. Like, so much about finances is in that book. So I definitely encourage you to get a copy of the book, Navigating the Impossible, a survival guide for single moms from pregnancy through the first year of motherhood. It is available now. Use it as your financial guide for this season and beyond. It's a wonderful, wonderful resource. And again, thanks so much for tuning in. Like this video, love it, subscribe, share with a friend, leave me a comment. Let me know how this has helped you. Have a good one.